Bitcoin gets rejected. Why Ripple should not do an IPO. XRP price talk along with mega volume.
I say lots of naughty things, so here's your warning.
That's right, Ripple should not go IPO, and I will have you convinced that that is true. And also, who's gonna cave in first in the 2025 tariff wars? Will the US cave in, or will it be China, China, China? I will have that poll linked down below. But before we get into the crypto news, your comments come first. Hot, spicy, naughty, relevant. Maybe I'll share it beginning in the next video. Danny Lewis starts us off, says a lot of China ships are sitting in the ocean and are not allowed to come into ports of the US. That's bad for China. So China needs to come to the table soon. Ooh, tariffs on everyone's mind. Mo Gunn says China should back down. We import a lot more than they do. Some of those things are necessary here and will cause a lot of pain. But the damage to China will be much more severe. Miguel Casilla says the I stand with China signs are coming this week in Facebook. Oh my God, I can only imagine. I remember all the people saying, yo, I will pay higher prices to support, Ukraine. Oh, gosh. Every single Dem will change their profile pic temporarily. Fuck China. Like I said, vote. It's in the description down below. Bitcoin sitting at 84,360. ETH is 1611. XRP is at 213. We're going to talk price at the end because the volume has been absolutely nutso, along with $3 billion in trade juice. TRX not going to touch it, but Sol's at 129. It is at 64.5, while H-Bar's at 16.6. XLM at 24.1, while BNB's at 584. Ooh, Michael Saylor. They might be buying the dip, everyone. Saylor signals a strategy is buying the dip amid macroeconomic turmoil. Michael Saylor has signaled that the company plans to acquire some more BTC. That's right, he went to Twitter. The company's most recent acquisition of 22,000 BTC on March 31st, that's a couple weeks ago, brought its holdings to a total of 528,000 BTC. According to Saylor Tracker, Saylor's BTC investment is up approximately 24%, representing $8.6 billion in unrealized gains. This is what Saylor posted. No tariffs on orange dots, and no tariffs on my Cardus Mario cards either, SAs, dudes and chicks and blue-haired giraffes. Let's take a look at this real quick. Saylor's average right now is at 67,485. He spent quite a bit of money to get there, but he is up right now 25%. All right, let's talk about IPO super fast and why Ripple should not IPO. Listen to this. McDonald's excludes Bitcoin proposal from shareholders meeting. Why is this important? Because the McDonald's board stopped the shareholders from being able to vote on whether or not to allow BTC as a strategic reserve asset. McDonald's dismisses shareholders' proposal to add BTC to its treasury. So the shareholders proposed, hey, let's vote on BTC as a strategic reserve, and the board said no. They want this stuff to be done on the board level, not on the shareholder level. The National Center for Public Policy Research recently proposed that McDonald's should incorporate Bitcoin into its treasury strategy, a move met with disapproval by the company. Backed by the SEC, McDonald's classified the proposal as a routine business matter, highlighting its preference for the board-initiated investment strategy over those driven by shareholder activism. Listen to this. This is why it's important. Because on December 10th, Microsoft shareholders voted against a proposal to add BTC to its balance sheet. So if Ripple goes IPO, it gives the shareholders, not the company, more power to decide what to do, which means Brad Garlinghouse would have less control over Ripple. And let's be honest right now, Brad Garlinghouse does not want to give up control over Ripple, right? So, of course, it makes sense that they want to control what they do, and they don't want to give power to the shareholders. Unprecedented 3 billion XRP trade fuels a market rebound. Yes, you have seen some wild moves. In fact, there was a 200 million XRP transfer made on Friday. We also saw a massive amount of volume happen. During that amount of volume, it was way more than what we saw in the overall crypto market. In fact, right now, XRP's volume is up 18.5% to 4 billion, while the rest of the crypto market is only up 2.5%. So XRP seeing a much, much greater proportion of the volume percentage-wise than the rest of the market. XRP is just staying hotter where the rest of the market is notter. Okay, I know that's not like good English, but I'm going to go with it. Check it out. XRP down only 0.79%. Solana down 1.5, BNB down 2, ETH down 2, and BTC down 1. So XRP holding its gains better. In fact, we've seen over this weekend, that's when the price jump-a-roni has happened. No, we did not keep the gains of 220, but we are keeping the gains north of $2. And look at this. Weekend volume. This is the strongest weekend we have seen with XRP in months, especially in terms of volume. And this is on the positive side. This isn't volume awesome because like, oh, we had some junk price. No, this is volume awesome because we had awesome price action. That's why I got green in the background, because we've got some green movement up here on the screen. Now, where is the majority of this volume coming from? Well, you know it's coming from the Binance pairing and a bit coming from the Korean won pairing as well. Now, we're going to be seeing the metals markets open up. I'm very curious how that's going to be playing. I'm also curious how the stock markets are going to be playing this week, because we have what, everyone? We've got Easter happening. Yeah, we've got Good Friday. So we're going to have kind of a wonky week going on, because the end of the week is going to have very low volume. So I want to see if this price can hold us through. But XRP has been seeing volume that the rest of the market hasn't. We've been seeing positive price action that a lot of the market really hasn't. And we're seeing a lot of open interest around XRP. This is good stuff, everyone. And we're seeing this while what? While we're dealing with tariffs, while we're dealing with macros that are good for the entire market. But again, XRP is faring better than the rest. Okay, so the Microsoft shareholders rejected the idea of adding BTC to the strategic reserves for Microsoft. McDonald's board goes, yo, SEC, we need your help here. We don't want our shareholders to vote on this, so we're going to say that this should be on the board level. Are you cool with us? And the SEC is like, yeah, we're cool with you doing that. So they were able to override that suggestion, and guess what? They're not going to be voting on BTC as a strategic reserve asset for McDonald's. In fact, McDonald's prefers to have their strategic reserves be big time into real estate. So think about that. When you start going public with the companies, you really start giving a lot of your control away from you, and you start giving it into the public, into the shareholders. And now, Ripple, the shareholders aren't XRP. It would be the holders of the shares if they were to go public. So that's one of the big reasons why you're seeing Ripple go, gosh, we really don't need to go IPO. We've got plenty of money from XRP. Let's be real here. They can always dump more on the market. They still own plenty of XRP. So they have plenty of money, and they don't need to give up control to get even more money. And what we're seeing here is that players out there in the corporate world, in the traditional finance world, are not hip with BTC. They are rejecting BTC in a multitude of ways. First, with the shareholders rejecting it. Now with the boards rejecting it. Saylor's not rejecting it. He wants to buy more, but Saylor seems to be in the minority. And I'm thinking he's probably going, wow, I thought this would have taken off quite heavily across the board by now. But it hasn't. And in fact, BTC has gotten the golden pass as a commodity this whole time. So it's probably a shock to Saylor that this hasn't taken off. But what's cool, though, is XRP's volume has stayed high despite the rest of the market and the rest of the news. That's why we got the green lights in the background, because of the weekend rally. So now we're going to keep the lights on to hopefully keep the weekend rally going into the green Easter week. See what I'm doing there? Kind of green Easter colors, pastel and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, let's see what happens this week. It's going to be a wild one, though. You're going to see some action happen at the beginning of the week, and then the end of the week, it might be a little boring. So maybe we squeeze a whole bunch of news in the first half, and we snooze in the second half. But let me know what your thoughts are about BTC getting rejected, Ripple and the IPO action, and who's going to crack first? The vote, it's down below. United States or China, China, China. And choo-choo what? Choo-choo bitches is what?